Watch this. Your diagonal push keeps hitting the net because your racket face is rotating 90 degrees mid-stroke. Here's the simple fix. A very common problem. Many players net their diagonal push because the racket face rotates too far during the stroke. Let me show you what I see all the time in training. The player starts at about 45 degrees, but by the end of the stroke, the rubber is facing sideways 90 degrees. Of course, that ball goes into the net. Here is the fix. Open the racket face so the racket head points to your side. For a straight push, the blade simply goes forward and down. For a diagonal push, watch, the blade travels toward the opposite corner. Notice my racket head stays on the diagonal line throughout. It does not twist, so the rubber ends up facing me. That rotation sends the ball left and straight into the net. Now, the second key point. On the forehand short ball, most opponents are not serving pure heavy backspin. Most serves to your forehand short are half spin or no spin, designed to bait a high push so they can attack you. So your baseline racket angle on the forehand side should be slightly more upright than on the backhand side. A little steeper. When a genuinely heavy ball does come, watch, I keep the blade fairly vertical, but because I extend my forearm forward through the ball, it still clears the net. As long as you push the forearm forward and don't let the ball die at contact, it will not go into the net, even against heavy spin. The reason is simple: be bold with a more upright racket angle. The opponent cannot generate extreme spin without using real force, and the moment they use force, the ball comes long, half the table deep. And when it comes long, you just loop it. Most forehand short serves are actually half spin or no spin. With a more upright blade, you can attack those. You can long push aggressively. The hardest receive pattern is being moved between these two corners. If you solve the forehand short corner, the whole receive game gets simpler. Once you handle those corners, the game opens up. So your starting racket angle on the push can be a touch more upright. If you net the first ball, ask yourself whether your forearm was extending forward enough. Think about whether you were pushing through the ball or just dropping your wrist down into the net. If you push the forearm out and still net it, the spin really is heavy, so adjust the racket angle, open it a little more. First principle, step into the center line and get your hand to the forehand short ball. Notice the elbow stays tucked in, not flared out. Tuck it toward your body, brace the shoulder and elbow, and now you can execute. Your starting blade angle is slightly upright, racket face open, racket head angled downward. This forehand push works on the same principle as the backhand. Contact at 3 o'clock on the ball, then 2, then 1, and at the very end, squeeze the handle. Watch this demonstration. Once you master this forehand short push, opponents will stop serving there. This is the ball amateurs fear most, so you absolutely must put in the work on the forehand short push. Once you own that corner, you can plant yourself on the backhand side with confidence. You won't be afraid of the deep backhand serve because your stance is stable. Right now, the reason you can't hold your backhand position or step in for the forehand is that you're scared of that one short ball. So commit to drilling the forehand short push. It unlocks everything else. Next, much better now. See how much cleaner that is when the hand stays close to the body. Same principle applies. That push has real quality now. Why? Because you're brushing at the contact point right in front of you. Now, when you push, extend the forearm out. You need that extension because you're trying to reach the deep part of the table, not just keep it short. Once you've built the short, snappy contact we talked about, that inch of force, you can safely extend the forearm and the ball still won't sail long. The friction holds it down, but don't let the blade drop and go dead. This applies to receiving long balls too. Watch, the problem is just poking at the ball with the fingertips. The flick of the fingers is only the first phase. After that, you must extend the forearm forward. Without that extension, there's no arc on the ball, it's like stopping your swing at contact. You can't clear the net that way. Once you've made friction contact, commit to pushing the forearm forward. But the forearm also needs a precise stopping point. That controlled finish is the most important part. Now, how do you generate more spin on the push? The friction window, the moment of contact, must be short. Now, that statement is tricky. You might think it means rubbing the ball the entire stroke. Watch what happens when I friction the ball through the whole motion, not much spin at all. But watch this version. See the difference? Think of it like a loop. We have to break the stroke into phases. You cannot friction the whole way, and you cannot have zero friction either. At the moment of contact, there is a tiny burst, just this big, a sharp, compact brush. And then after that burst, what comes next? You extend the forearm forward. It is not one continuous rub from start to finish. Watch, if I drag the blade across the ball the entire way, is there spin? No. But if I make a short, sharp brush right at contact and then push the forearm out afterward, now there's real spin. These are two distinct feelings inside one stroke. Most people see it as a single motion and assume it's all friction, all force, the whole way through. It is not. Let me break it down. I approach the ball, find it, and at the moment of contact, I fire a quick burst with the fingers, that inch of force. Then the forearm follows through forward. That sequence is the key. This is all about decomposed practice, breaking the stroke into pieces. Whether it's the banana flick or the forehand serve, I always have my students drill each phase separately first. For the banana flick, you start by practicing just the sideways brush, the same way the pros isolate it. Once you've trained each piece, the whole stroke doesn't feel so overwhelming. Otherwise, you could practice for a year and your flick still won't look right. Respect the learning process. Trust in it. That feeling we just found, the short burst of friction, that inch of force, it keeps your stroke compact because you know the forearm extension comes after. How much you can compress that burst depends on your level. You may not be as precise as I am yet, but you're already moving in the right direction, and results come quickly once you commit to this approach. Right after that burst of friction, the forearm still has to extend forward, otherwise the ball drops into the net. Watch this push now, see how difficult that is to return. The ball stays low, it has real bite. Now watch this one that floats long, that means the snap wasn't concentrated enough, the force wasn't focused into that tiny window. But this one, feel the difference. You can tell instantly from your hand whether the ball has quality spin or not. One squeeze at contact and you know.